John Murphy at murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on March the 6th in the year of our Lord 2026, and as usual, I have some really good stuff for you tonight. Let me click on my Rumble link here. Take us over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is the video we're going over tonight, episode 1850. It says upcoming, but as you know, you are actually watching it. So let me click onto that. And hi, Debbie BS. Nice to see you. Folks, if you could chat out to me tonight, I would really appreciate that. I need 3 chats to meet my requirements for this month for my Rumble Studios so that Rumble will then promote my information out, which is the thing to do if we want people to get the truth. And I've got a lot of truth for you tonight. So let me scroll down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. We have information from Dan Bongino again. I hope Tiff doesn't get upset about this. Tiff 7799, I think. She's, I really appreciate the feedback from my listeners, from my people who watch this. But I've listened to Dan Bongino since back in 2016. I mean, sometimes he gets a little rough with the street language, but the things that he says are definitely spot on, no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. And we got some information from ACLJ Sekulow, American Center for Law and Justice. Glenn Beck, this is a great video I want to share with you. Talk about no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Glenn lays it right on the table. Okay, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do have some shout outs to give. If you notice, people, I've been getting a lot more people following me every day. Okay, today I have 7, or 6, but normally in the past I'd get maybe 1 or 2, sometimes 3. But when I start meeting my requirements on Rumble Studio, that's when they start promoting this information out. People listen to it and like it and start following my channel. So that's the whole point of my doing these videos, is to get people a place to come to get the truth rather than having to rely on the mainstream lying legacy media and deep state swamp for their news, which is nothing but lies anyway. Okay, RKSI 1234 just started following my channel. The Chess Master 1 just started following my channel. Mama Monarch just started following my channel. Arky 72 just started following my channel. Zach 1328 just started following my channel, and Junior 1986J just started following my channel. So thank you so much, folks, for following me. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1849 from last night. Debbie BS also commented on a short that I made with Cruise News. Now, if you notice, I've started creating some shorts too, and that's another thing that Rumble has said to me, that if I start creating shorts, then that will help in getting the information out. These shorts that I create are generally from my daily news wrap-up. Little snippets here and there of great information. So if you want to start watching some of my shorts, that would be, fine too. More news, more no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Okay, Real News DFW, Uncloudy, Foxy Grandma, and Debbie BS commented on my episode 1849. Debbie BS commented on my extra 631A. And Debbie BS commented on my extra 632A and 632B. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my videos and your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I absolutely appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. And if you don't mind, if you can give me a thumbs up, right here's the video that you're watching. If you can slide down here and give me a thumbs up on that, absolutely fantastic. Okay, well, let's see what Dan Bongino has to say, and how does this end? Episode 2467. Let's check it out.
Hey, Bell. It's Friday. Everybody's always happy on Friday. I know some of you watch this show on the weekend. So if you are, hope you're having a good weekend too, getting out ahead of it. Our video on demand audience is almost as big as our live stream. So we really appreciate that. So again, thank you for all your support. It means a lot. Anytime you come back from an experience like that, I said, when you're in a leadership position, you're not going to make everybody happy. You got to make level 10 decisions. But having you all here means the world to me. I really appreciate it. And I hope that comes off as genuinely as I mean it, because you guys are the best. This Bongino army, I always had faith, but faith results matter. Thank you very much. On yesterday, True Social Post, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is moving over to SHIELD. It is a lateral. However, listen, it's pretty clear there were some issues there. A couple points on this. I saw a lot of folks on Twitter this morning asking me for my perspective, being that I was, inside the administration at that principal deputy level. First, results have to matter. I've told you this over and over for the, 10 years I've been on the air. I'm a transactional guy. I care about results and numbers. I don't care about opinions. I don't care about personalities. I don't care. I think over the course of history, this is all looked back upon with kind of non-rose colored or dark colored glasses, I think people are going to say that was one of the most successful years they've ever had over at DHS. There was a lot that had to happen. ICE, CBP, Secret Service, TSA. DHS is huge. Folks, DHS has, multiple times a factor of agents than we had at the FBI. But between ERO, removal operations, the border being shut down, some transformations that happened within Secret Service, within ICE, within CBP. I'll tell you a quick story to my experience with Kristi Noem. When we wanted to get rid of FBI headquarters, but I don't want to bore you with a long story. Guys, this story sucks, just tell me. But the FBI headquarters political football has been going on for 40 years. Move the FBI, don't move the FBI, move the FBI. The building's freaking collapsing. The Hoover building we worked in is collapsing. It's disgusting. There's literally concrete falling from the garage on people's cars. So what they have to do is wall off sections of the garage so there's no parking down there because the concrete's falling. Because for, 20, 30 years we're going to move it to Virginia, Maryland. They wanted like an $8 billion headquarters, whatever it is. Cash and I were like, we're not doing any of that shit. We're going down the road to the Reagan building. It already exists. We're going to save the taxpayers billions of dollars. It just made sense. That deal is now done. The move's already begun. We did it in like 6 months or so. We had a problem, though. Kristi Noem's DHS had an office in there, CBP office, and it was a bit of a football. And we said, guys, we need to just make this smooth, the transition. And she did it pretty quick. So I think our results over time are going to be good. Second, as I said before, you serve at the pleasure of the president, folks. It's his cabinet. If he feels like something's become a distraction to him, and clearly he didn't like how the hearing went, then he's going to move on. I don't think it means necessarily that you saw put up the True Social post. It's not like he's sitting there saying, terrible job and all that stuff. He just wanted to move on. Mark Wayne Mullen's a good guy. I know Mark Wayne Mullen pretty well, senator from Oklahoma, and he's going to have a pretty smooth sailing through the confirmation process. I, knock on wood, don't anticipate any problems. The Democrats will try to fabricate one. But listen, obviously something didn't go right. President wanted to move on with someone different. But I think, again, looking back over time at the results, you're going to be like, damn, those were pretty good. Shut the border down from 10 million illegals entering a year? Who knows? Maybe more when you factor in gotaways to effectively zero. So we'll see what happens over time. But I think as the body of work is looked at, I think it's going to be looked at positively. Clearly, doesn't just want to go in a different direction. But, it's not like you took a shot at her out the door. So there's my take on it, having been inside. Remember, when you get it, for those of you out there, and some of you, this is a pretty big audience. You already got 45,000 people 10 minutes in here. Some of you there are going to get these assistant secretary, deputy assistant secretary jobs in the future in the government. You're going to see, it's not about you. It's always about the administration. That's how it goes. All right. Oh, folks, freaking Baghdad Bob is back. How bad must this conflict going on in Iran right now? How bad must this be going for the Iranians that they're sending out their foreign minister, like, we're waiting for you. You're not waiting for shit. Are you kidding me? You better pray and hope that there's no ground forces in there ever. You're waiting for that. Most of your leadership team has been completely wiped out. Do you remember Baghdad Bobby? If you're part of my younger audience out there, and we love you, thank you for being here. You're the best. You know, listen, the younger folks are important. They're going to be around a lot longer than us older folks. You may not remember this guy. Do you remember the movie, Seven? Was that movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman and the detectives investigating these murders? And at the end, there's this scene where he's looking at, because there's these really gruesome murders, and Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are sitting there. And Brad Pitt looks at Morgan Freeman and goes, "Have you ever seen anything like this?" When it comes to this theater, what's going on right now in Iran, have you ever seen anything like this? This has to be the quickest decapitation of leadership and military facilities we've ever seen. This even makes shock and awe look not so shock and not so awe. However, this has happened before, where these propaganda ministers within the government want to keep some kind of hierarchy and want to keep the people in line. So what do? They send out their agitprop people. This was Baghdad Bob. I saw this one was at Breaking 911. It's a good follow on X. This was Baghdad Bob, their Iraqi foreign minister propaganda guy, when they were getting their asses kicked over in Iraq. Check this out.
We will slaughter them all. Those invaders, their tombs will be here in Iraq.
You're not frightened now, sir?
Not at all, not at all. And you don't be frightened. We are going to tackle them and to destroy them. They are not near Baghdad. Don't believe them. It's baseless. They are liars. That's all.
How is the situation today here in Baghdad?
It's good as you see it. As you see it. The traffic. They are trapped everywhere in the country. They are trapped in Qasr. They are trapped near Basra. They are trapped near Nasiriyah. They are trapped near Najaf.
Okay, nobody was trapped. Obviously, they were getting their asses kicked. However, Baghdad Bobby, they used to send Bobby out in front of the cameras all day. There are no troops in Baghdad. That's all he used to do was bullshit people. Folks, the Iranians are doing that now. Here's their Baghdad Bobby. Here's Abbas Bobby Aragachi. That's his name, his big name, Bobby. Bobby, here is any foreign minister, Bobby Aragachi, telling, what is it, MSNOW, "Oh yeah, man, we're just sitting back and waiting for you guys." What's his name? Oh, NBC News. Here he is on NBC, same thing. MSNOW, NBC News. Here he is telling you, "We're just sitting back and waiting. You crazy Americans are falling right into a trap." If this is a trap, this is the worst trap ever set. Check this out.
Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready, willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion.
Who just said that? Hold on. Who just said that in the chat? Someone said in the chat, I missed it. It's going so fast. Someone said even the MSNOW, NBC guys, like, dude, come on. Really? This is even too much for us, the PP hoaxers? Come on. The Russia hoaxers, impeachment hoaxers, the PP hoaxers, even on MSNOW, NBC. This is a little much. You're Bobby, cool out, bro. Cool out. He may not be around for long, by the way. So just save that footage. Just be the last we see of Bobby Aragachi. This is suicidal. This is the equivalent of Iraqi IRGC and Mullah suicide by cop. That's what this is right now. This is suicide by U.S. military. That's all you're asking for. President Trump put out a truth right before we got up on the air saying, listen, guys, the rules are unconditional surrender or nothing. And I wouldn't test them. This just went out. President Trump, True Social. There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender and acceptance of an acceptable leader. He's already told you. We're beyond the screwing around portion of this. This is real. People are dying. It's not a joke. I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm simply suggesting the fact that you are playing with a pair of twos with a guy who's got a full house. You don't have a chance. You can bluff all you want. Eventually, you're going to have to show your cards. You don't have any cards. Folks, this is just machismo at this point. That's all this is by the dumbass Iranian leadership. Your people don't even like you. Upwards of 80% of the Iranians hate your guts. Here is the head of CENTCOM, Brad Cooper, giving just a quick briefing yesterday on what's really going on, not the Baghdad Bobby version. Bobby's full of shit. Even MSNOW is like, dude, I'm not really sure that's accurate. Sitting there waiting for us. They were waiting in Khomeini's above ground portion of the bunker too, and then they didn't quite make it. That waiting didn't work out so well. That waiting room did not end well. You never got to see the doctor. You got to see a doctor who declared you dead, the medical examiner, I guess, but there was no doctor on the other side of that door. Here's what's really going on after just under a week of action over in Iran. And check this out.
If I just look back over the last 24 hours of the operation compared to where we were at its start, ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one. Drone attacks have decreased by 83% since day one. Having said this, we remain vigilant. Our strikes against the Iranian Navy have intensified. You may have heard the president say just a little while ago that we have sunk or destroyed 24 ships. It was the moment. We're now up over 30 ships. And in just the last few hours, we hit an Iranian drone carrier ship, roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier. And as we speak, it's on fire.
Folks, candidly, they're probably running out of high-quality targets at this point because they've taken out most of them. Here's some footage of their internal paramilitary police, one of their bases being taken out within the city. This is not going to end well for them. The president's not screwing around. A couple more points, and I want to move on. I got a lot to cover today. I know we've done a ton on what's going on in Iran this week. I've got a lot. I've got some more coming up later in the show, some videos, some interesting military video. But there's a couple other things going on, too, I want to address, including some internal polling. And Greg Gutfeld on the anti-communist theory and the show your ass theory we talk about all the time. He kind of sums it up, I think a little better sometimes than even I do on this. So I'm going to play that in a second.
I'm going to go ahead and pause this here, and I will include this in my daily news wrap-up so you get to see the rest of this good stuff. I mean, and that's just what I was saying. I don't know anything that he said there that anybody could argue with or disagree with. All right, let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from the Dan Bongino show. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And Debbie BS, is there anybody else out there that's would be willing to chat with me? Just say hi or whatever. That would be fantastic. I would appreciate it. Okay, American Center for Law and Justice. Sekulow failed Senate vote gives Trump green light. Well, that sounds good. Something positive in the frickin' Senate. Amazing.
The Senate on Wednesday rejected a deal. The Democrats put in a deal to, what would they essentially say, end the war, thwart the war, if you will, in Iran. And of course, well, that failed.
The 47 that voted in favor of this would have said effectively the president can do no more operations, no more bombings, nothing in Iran unless he comes and gets approval from Congress. The 47 senators voted yes on that. All the Democrats except for John Fetterman, and they added Rand Paul, which is ideologically consistent from him. Then you have on the other side, those that voted against it, every Republican plus John Fetterman. So one Republican and one Democrat switched places on this vote, but it did fail in the Senate. A similar measure is expected to be put forward in the House today. That is co-sponsored by Ro Khanna of California, as well as Thomas Massie of Kentucky. That is the continuing resolution 38, and this is directed at the president pursuant action Section 5C of the War Powers Resolution to remove United States Armed Forces from unauthorized hostilities in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Doing effectively the same thing. It is expected to fail there as well. But what you're seeing now is this partisan split on this action that is reaching a new level. It used to be that when the United States engaged in military conflict, there may have been differences in policy, in outcome, and even loud vocal voices saying the president, what they're doing is wrong. But the diminishing language, I think, is what is new here. The way that you are hearing Democrats talk about the administration, and I think it is damaging, one, to the reputation of the United States, to those men and women in uniform that are fighting currently, because you have statements like this. This is from Senator Mark Kelly, a Democrat from Arizona. You may know him from his videos telling people to not obey what they say is illegal orders. That was the whole big issue with him earlier in this administration. But let's go ahead and hear what he had to say on with Jen Psaki, so former alumni of the Obama White House. And it's shocking when you hear it. So I need you to listen. This is bite 7.
You could pick a random group of people off the street tonight here in Washington, D.C., just a random group, and they could probably do a better job than our government is doing right now with this. They don't have a goal. There's no strategic plan. There's no timeline. And what this is likely to lead to is, again, a long war with a lot of dead Americans and no rationale for how this American people.
When you hear that from a veteran himself, an astronaut, a sitting U.S. senator, that he is belittling the planning of the military as well, because it's not as if Donald Trump himself is sitting there drawing up war plans. That's not how it works. He knows that. And not that Pete Hegseth is the only other person involved in these decision-making processes. When you hear him say that you could pick a random group of people off the street of D.C. here tonight and do a better job than the U.S. is doing. Right. One, the Pete Hegseth, the president, Mark Rubio, very transparent. Then they also have showing the outcome, effective outcomes. The loss from one strike, one missile that got through is tragic, but that is war, as well as it is not this mass chaos where all of our bases are burning in the Middle East and our ships are being sunk, like people like Mark Kelly warned us would happen if this went forward.
When you hear Mark Kelly, I mean, you hear the politics on it. I mean, really what it is. I mean, it's just one. You don't hear someone who's actually coming out from, by the way, respect his service, he probably would have a lot to share. But instead, politics has infiltrated him. Maybe he's another one that thinks that 2028 could be a good political run for him, because you see that on him. You see the tone that's coming out of him. It is a tone of politics. It's not a tone of war. It is not a tone of conversation that actually could lead to betterment of our military. Now, time will tell whether this war or this military conflict was worth it. When any human life is lost, of course, you're going to weigh what the worth was of it. And what I'm hoping is that President Trump and Pete Hegseth, who I've very much thought that Pete Hegseth has done a good job over the last few weeks, I hope that what we're going to see is they do have this plan and they do have this strategy. And all signs would point to that they do. I think that would be different. If we were months into this, and I think even John Fetterman kind of mentioned that, like we're 36 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours into this war, really, into this conflict, that it would be a little different if we're talking about a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we're still in it. Now, look, it is apparently, America has that issue. We know that it is a problem that we've had many times before. So it's not an unwarranted question. But when you come at it from a place that feels so political and not military, not from his expertise, I would love to hear from a non-political Mark Kelly at this moment. I would love to hear from non-political from all sides of the military world. But sadly, when you go on one of these programs, that's not what they want. And that's certainly not what he wanted to express. He wanted to express a political position, not a strategic military position.
I would respect their position if it came across as a statesman. If it was a statesman Democrat that said, I ideologically disagree with this. I do not think the president should be leading us down this road. I am concerned about the cost on American lives. I can respect that position. What I cannot respect is them acting not like statesmen, saying that they are bumbling their way through this. If you talk to any global war on terror veteran right now, maybe not any, but if you talk to, I would say a vast majority, about would they rather have the early days of Iraq and Afghanistan executed how it was with the leadership that was then there, even through the Obama years, or would you rather have it executed like it is happening now? I think you would get an overwhelming response of the way that the president and the leadership in the military and the Secretary of War and the National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio, are executing this action against Iran is how the military should operate. Right. This is efficient. This is a plan. This isn't them trying to use academics and all this other theory involved. This is getting back to the basics of lethality in the military, and it's working. The fact that we are even using more conventional methods and we're not fighting an insurgency like we were fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq, it makes it such a different war. And having our leaders use words and phrases like they're bumbling through this or anybody on the street in D.C. could do a better job is disrespectful to our men and women in military.
Absolutely. Great information. And, you know, it's, of course, the Democrats, they will do anything to make Donald Trump look bad. You know, you've heard the analogy before, you could cure cancer, and they would complain about that. Yeah, they'd complain, you cure cancer. Well, what about all these people in the medical profession that's going to lose their jobs because they can't treat cancer and charge tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars for the treatment? Okay. All right, this video here does come from American Center for Law and Justice, a Sekulow recap. I've following the channel. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. I got a new chat here from Susie Poll 2016. Thank you, Susie, for your chat. I appreciate that. If I've got 24 people watching right now. You know, if I could get somebody that's not chatted with me before this month, if they could just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever. Just give me a chat, please. Okay, Glenn Beck. Why is the government protecting a murderous illegal in Virginia? I mean, this pretty much says it all for the Democrat Party. They are so Trump derangement syndrome affected that they are willing to allow criminals that go out and kill the people that vote them into office rather than try to work with Donald Trump and get these illegal murderers and rapists out of the country. Glenn Beck says it all right here. I cannot disagree with anything.
We're in a moral quagmire right now, and it's by our own choosing because people they're not engaging in critical thinking at all. They take whatever they hear online as gospel and they just go with it. And they've selected teams. Let me talk to you about what's happening in Virginia. There's a lot of things happening in Virginia, but the latest, the one that I want to start with is the governor, Spanberger, who ran as a moderate. I'll have you know. Ran as a moderate. She is now saying that she will not turn over a guy who murdered a woman at a bus stop, stabbing her to death. Okay? Turn him over to ICE because they warrant. Ask you, and this is an honest question. Why, for the love of Pete, are the Democrats so intent on protecting murderers? Rapist. This guy had been scooped up off the street in Fairfax County. The police knew who this guy was because they had arrested him so many times. He had been arrested like 40 times. One of them was for rape. And they let him out on the streets. Returned him to the streets. They want to protect him from, excuse me? And so he wasn't deported. And now he's not only raped, he stabbed a woman to death. And Spanberger thinks that this is in her best interest. Honestly, I mean, that's really callous of me and cynical. You know, I'm thinking immediately to politics. She thinks it's in your best interest to let this guy out on the street. And I really don't understand. Immigration policy can be really, really complicated. Border enforcement, complicated, okay? Work visas, asylum laws, all of that stuff. But in this case, it is not complicated at all. A woman standing at a bus stop, a normal American moment, waiting for the day to begin, waiting for a bus, and she's stabbed to death. And this isn't somebody who just slipped through the cracks one time. A guy who had been arrested again and again and again, more than 40 charges, assault, rape, and now murder, stabbing. 40 warnings that something was deeply wrong here. Can I ask you, if it is not the government's job to protect, what is their job? Because they weren't protecting you or this woman or anybody in Virginia. They weren't protecting any American by putting him back on the street. Now, here's the question that every single American should be asking. And I mean this honestly. What possible justification exists for keeping somebody like this in our communities? Can you give me one single explanation that is logical, that is not evil, quite honestly? Why? This is not an illegal immigrant that came here to make a better job working construction, make a better life for his family. That's not this story. It's not a family that crossed the border looking for opportunity. This is a violent criminal who has conducted violence, raped a woman on the streets of Virginia. Let go. Then he gets out. He stabs another woman. Not a surprise. And now stands accused of murder. But once he gets out, they're going to put him back on the street. I sincerely want to ask all of the politicians who believe this, clear and calmly, I want to ask you, what is your argument for protecting him? What is your moral reasoning here? What principle says the safety of American citizens should come second? And forget that he's even illegal. Let's just say he's a standard old born in the USA rapist and stabber. What possible reason? Because government exists to protect your rights. This is to protect you. Before healthcare, before education, before social programs, government exists to protect the innocent. That is your first job. That's your sacred duty. If you can't do those things, why? A, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing those things? And why should you have a job? What's more important than that? If somebody enters this country illegally, okay, we can debate. And commit crimes, we can debate. We can? How? Question's complicated. The answer should be threat. Deport them. Protect the public. But somewhere along the way, parts of our political leadership began treating violent offenders as if they're the ones who needed protection. You can say little kids who came here who were dragged here by their parents, they had nothing. You make that case all day long, and we can argue that. And you might even win, okay? But I really would like to hear the argument on this one. Really. I mean, I'm left asking a really simple question. Who are you actually working for? The murderer or the mother waiting at the bus stop? Which one? The mom or the murderer? I know it's tough. They both start with M. Every time a violent offender is released back into the community, and you have a way to remove them by deporting them, Every time the charges are dropped, every time the bureaucratic excuse delays the removal, the risk is not theoretical. This is not a one-off. We're seeing this over and over again. The threat is real. A family loses her daughter. A husband loses her wife. Children lose a mom. And every single bit of it was preventable. All of it. All of it. There are some things that we can't prevent. This we can. Are we a nation of laws? Are we a nation that actually cares about its citizens? You know, the Constitution protects the accused. It protects due process, and it should. But due process was never meant to become a revolving door for violent predators. Are you out of your mind? When somebody shows you 40 times who they are, you believe them, and you remove them from the society that you were elected to protect and serve. How is this controversial? How is this partisan at all? This is not ideological. This is common sense. You wake anybody up in any country in the world that understands freedom and right and wrong and ask them, hey, this guy just murdered somebody. They were arrested before for raping somebody. They've assaulted people 40 different times. They shouldn't be here in the first place. Should we keep them around, or should we turn them into the government and have the government tort them? From a dead sleep, everybody knows the answer to that one. And if you're a politician and you can't immediately see violent criminals who are here illegally should be removed immediately, you have forgotten the most basic responsibility of public service. Protect the people. This woman at the bus stop, she wasn't a political talking point. She was a mom. She was a human being. She had a life. She had people who loved her. And tonight, those people remain, and there's an empty chair at her table. So again, I would like to ask, now I know I'm not going to question because nobody on the other side wants to come on this program, because I'll ask you calmly, rationally, and morally, what possible justification exists for protecting somebody like this instead of protecting the American people, that mother, if there is one. I think the country deserves to hear it. The country is starving to hear it. If you have some enlightenment, share it with the people. But you don't share it with the people because there is no such thing as any enlightenment on this one. The leaders responsible, you should have the courage to state your case. And if you can't, get the hell out. Protecting innocent people is not a partisan position. It is not. It is the foundation of civilization itself. Now, what she'll say is, all I want to deport is a warrant. Oh my gosh. Let me clear this one up. Politicians, they're playing this game. And again, I play Americans' lives. And you keep hearing the same line. ICE needs a warrant from a judge. Okay, that sounds reasonable, right? Here's the problem. People don't, and they know you don't understand this. Immigration enforcement is not criminal law. When the FBI arrests somebody for murder or robbery, yes, they need a criminal warrant from a judge. One reason why you don't have this going through a judge is because you have 20 million people and not enough judges. But let's go back. Out of haste, this is immigration enforcement, and it is civil law. And Congress designed it differently. This just didn't happen under Trump. They didn't just stop issuing warrants under Trump. They've never had warrants from a judge, ever. They have what are called administrative warrants, authorized by federal law and issued through the Department of Homeland Security. And it's not some unusual loophole. Federal agencies operate this way. Do you think the IRS has to go to a judge? I wish they did, but they don't. IRS can compel records without a criminal warrant. The SEC can enforce civil violations without a warrant from a judge. The EPA can issue enforcement orders. They can come in and shut your factory down without a judge ever looking at it. Why? It's administrative. It's civil. So when politicians suddenly say, you know, those ICE agents, they need, where is the judge's warrant? Excuse me? Never in the history of America have we had that, because that's not the law. You know what that is? A political roadblock. That's a political game. They are intentionally, they know the rules. They've played this as a politician forever on both sides. But they know they're counting on you being so stupid and all of your friends being so stupid that you'll never figure this one out. Well, you figured it out. Instead of holding some safely inside a jail where ICE can pick them up, they're free to go out and stab people to death. Then ICE has to go out and hunt them down again in neighborhoods and communities, which causes all kinds of problems. It's dangerous, it's less effective, and it makes absolutely no sense, and it has never been this way in the law. This isn't about the Constitution and your rights, okay? It's not. This isn't about due process. This is about local politicians deciding they do not want to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, so they create a new requirement that does not exist in federal law, nor has it ever. Why? I mean, I can see, hey, little Jose, he has nothing to do. He just wants school, and mom and dad, they're working, they're busting their butts. I know people like that. Okay, we can talk about that. We're not talking about this. We are talking about people who have raped, assaulted, murdered. I mean, we have the right to ask a very simple question. Again, who are you protecting, Democrats? Who are you protecting? You're not protecting the innocent. Don't create a new excuse on why dangerous people were released back into our community when it is a lie. We can disagree, but stop lying to us. America, we must educate ourselves on how this process works. Because if we don't, if we are not educated, the press is not standing up to educate you. The press is not telling you the truth. They're standing with them. Yeah, where's that judicial warrant? There's never been a system of judicial warrants for this. Ever. In the history of America. Ever. I just want the answer to the one question. Who are you protecting? Why are you standing to protect a murderer of a mother at a bus stop instead of the mom? Why?
There you have it, folks. Can you argue with what he's saying? Can any sane person argue with what he's saying? These Democrats, folks, are so hell-bent on preventing Donald Trump from making America great again. They are willing to sacrifice innocent people walking down the street, riding a bus. This is exactly why I share this information out. And this is exactly why I ask you to please share it with your friends, contacts, and family members. Because there's a lot of people that haven't seen this information that need to see it. Okay, this video does come from Glenn Beck. I am subscribed to his channel on YouTube. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And it looks like Joe Laub, L-O-U-B, gave me a thumbs up. That's one more chat. I just need two more. Two more people that have not chatted with me. I've got 34 people watching. Surely there's a couple of people out there that hasn't chatted with me this month. Just give me a chat. Give like Joe did. Give me a thumbs up, or I don't care. Give me a thumbs down. Let's get it done. Get her done. All right. Let's see what Wendy Bell has to say regarding dropping out. Okay, let's check this out.
Was I probably 27 years old? I don't think I'd met my husband Joe yet. It was St. Louis, Missouri. And I was a television reporter for the NBC affiliate there. And we worked on this great program, Show Me St. Louis, where I got to showcase all of the beautiful reasons why that beautiful city at the gateway to the West, right? That wonderful place I enjoyed so much. There was a story that happened in the news department. It wasn't something I covered, but I thought it was so fascinating. It was a woman. It was a mom. Her name was Michelle. What was her name? Tribo. Michelle Tribo, 36 years old, had 3 kids, a 15-year-old, a 13, and a 7-year-old. And she wasn't trying to make any waves. She wasn't trying to make the evening news. She just tapped out. She had enough. She was tired of her children not pitching in. They were grousing all the time, griping all the time, weren't grateful for what they had, weren't pitching in. And she had enough. So she literally went on strike. She wrote a note. It said, on strike, mom. No cooking, no cleaning, no doctoring, banking, or taxi service. And she climbed up in the backyard in a treehouse that her husband had made the kids when they were much younger. And she's like, I can stay up here quite comfortably for a while. And the kids were like, what the heck's going on? Dad's at work. Kids come home from school. Mom's in the treehouse. What the heck? Well, somebody nearby, I guess, caught wind that this was going on and had, I guess, a friend working at KSDK where I was. And they called the TV station. And they're like, you guys got to get a wind of this. This is amazing. There's a mom who's had enough with her kids. And she's like, look, I'm done. Tapped out. You guys don't listen to me. You're not grateful. You don't pitch in. And I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. Life is too complicated. No. And so all of a sudden the TV station's out there, right? And then all of a sudden it's like a live report. And it's like, Sheila, we're live on the scene. What's going on? And it's like all of a sudden then all of the news stations came. And it was this big deal. This mom had gone on strike. And I'm like, God, she's brilliant. God, she's brilliant. She didn't mean to do that. She just wanted to knock some sense into her family, including her husband, I'm sure. I thought it was fascinating. And I totally get it now. Like at the time, I was 27 years old. I'm like, I didn't have kids. I wasn't married. I hadn't met my husband yet. I was like, I'm never going to get married. I only dated turkeys. Like that. It's not for me. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I am channeling my inner Michelle from Belleville, Illinois today because I'm feeling the same way. And I'm going to have a conversation with my family this weekend. And I'm really not looking forward to it because I want it to be fair. But I also have to admit something very serious. It's completely of my doing. I've created, by my enabling, a group of people who really don't do a whole lot. They don't help a whole lot. 1 or 2 here and there, yes. Consistently with the ones who are living there now, no. How about walking the dog? You guys know what the vacuum is? Because I see it, and I see all of your crumbs on the floor. Anybody think about that? If you make your laundry or do your laundry, how about you move it and get it out of there? And by the way, if mine is still in the dryer and you need to move yours over, don't you dare throw it on the ground. I will strangle you and throw you down the stairs, right? If you got plants, let me know about it. So I don't have to cook for you. Have some courtesy. When you wake up and you walk by me in the morning, you say, good morning, Mom. How's your day? Tell me, you know what I got planned? I think we're going to go golfing. I think friends and I are going to go have pizza. We're not going to be home for dinner, but we will be home before you go to bed. Excellent. Thank you very much. A little bit of communication. I'm tired of making dinner and coming downstairs after I go to bed and the dishes are still there. I'm tired of being outside, blowing all the leaves, raking the leaves. Now, you know what? I do love yard work, right? Put in an old show in your AirPods, right? That you've heard a million times, mindless raking, blowing, bagging, progress. Love it. But every now and again, it's nice when you're inside watching soccer. How about you come out and say, you know what? I'm here to help. Let me bag that section. You go on over there. We can do this together faster. Oh my gosh, I'd fall off my seat and hit my head, right? I pay the bills. I do the shopping with Joe, right? Do the majority of all of the cooking. I clean everything. I clean, right? Now, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that nobody is helping out? The boys have 2 bathrooms. Why don't they clean their own bathrooms? They're responsible for their own rooms. They look like garbage and they smell like feet. What do I have to do, right? What do I have to do? Well, we're going to have a family meeting about it. And I appreciate you letting me get it out here, because once I kind of get it out, I can process the way in which I'm going to deliver it, which will be far less incendiary until somebody gives me an eye roll or an exasperated sigh, in which case it's gloves off. This is kind of where we are, right? In our country, we have enabled this craziness around us. We haven't held people to account. We haven't been deeply involved in the situation. We haven't paid close attention to what our leaders are doing. We are far too apt to fall for headlines in the news. And if I think we all figured out truly how much we've been propagandized in our lifetimes, we would all vomit. It would be insane. We have created, with our enabling, a system of systemic fraud and waste and abuse, the likes of which is mind-bending. More money is stolen from the American people than I guarantee like 70% of the countries on planet Earth have as their GDP. And yet we talk about it. Well, oh my God, million fraud, 18, 19 billion dollars. Well, that kind of falls off the planet like Nancy Guthrie's search, right? Where'd it go? Where's the end? Where's the restitution? Where's the clean house, folded laundry, and bagged leaves? Where is the family that walks the dog and pays in and remembers, oh, he's a living thing. Maybe I should check his water every now and again. Just saying. It's not a big ask, unless you've never asked for it before. And whose fault is that? Well, it's mine. In my situation, it's mine. And it is ours in this thing that we're doing called America. You know, there's some exciting things going on there. We're seeing people, particularly our elected representatives, through their votes, which we are now forced to pay attention to, because the ridiculosity of the monstrosity of suck that is the American government system is so in your face now, you can't avoid it. You mean to tell me you want to vote for children being sexually mutilated in surgeries that are absolutely crazy? You want to vote for that? I want to know who you are so I can help vote you out. But see, that's the next step, right? That's the next step. We see what is wrong. But now we've got to be the ones to take action. We've got to be the ones that say, hey, like Michelle Tribo, 36-year-old mama 3 from Belleville, Illinois, who in 1997 said, peace out. I don't want to do this anymore. You're not respecting me. You're not listening to me. And you're not acting like you're a part of my herd. And I don't like it anymore. That's where we're marching in November. Look, there are going to be false prophets and weirdos all over the place. People like James Tallarico. And if you do a hot second search on this whack job, everything that we don't want as America. We have now 53 members of the Democratic House of Representatives, Democratic members, who voted against a very basic resolution, by the way, that the same thing was voted on 400 and something to 1 back when Barack Obama was president, saying Iran unequivocally is the leading state sponsor of terror in America, in the world, rather. And you've got 53 Democrats who are like, yeah, I don't think so. What does that tell you? That we need to go on strike? That we need to go up into the treehouse? No, absolutely not. We need to demand more. We've enabled way too much. And the time of accountability must be here. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Godspeed, sir. Hope you get through. Hope you make changes. Hope we see somebody somewhere freaking arrested, charged, whatever. Do your thing, sir. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program. Meantime, in Texas, Ken Paxton's like, look, I'm going to make a deal with you. I'll drop out if you do this. Where is that? Where is the president? We're going to play a little update for you from Rob Finnerty, Newsmax, something you got to hear. It is worth it. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move that forward, but let me share some information here from Rumble Wallet with you real quick.
They can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever.
Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Designed for patriots who stand tall, this cap captures the enduring spirit of liberty. The Liberty Bell stands proud. This isn't a credit line they can shut off, it's your wallet, permanently. Yours to protect your future.
Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference.
This isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet, permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom.
Okay, back to Wendy Bell.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. About an hour ago, I saw President Trump telling CNN's Dana Bash that the Iran conflict is going very, very well. It is ahead of schedule. And then he casually dropped another bombshell. He said Cuba is going to fall pretty soon, and that he's sending Secretary Rubio there to make a deal shortly. Oh my. You guys, I'm thinking about this right now. The U.S. Navy controls all global shipping choke points. China's got to be absolutely losing its mind because their economy now is at this president's mercy. And he's like, look, this is called leverage. We control the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Gibraltar, the Malacca Strait. In Eastern Asia, we control the Suez Canal. We control the Panama Canal. And all of the global shipments of oil that these other countries rely on are now under American, shall we say, supervision. That's called having cards. Could you imagine anybody else doing that? Absolutely not. And now Cuba. So also earlier today, the United States House voted to reopen the government. You had 4 Democrat defectors jump on over to the Republican side. Henry Cuellar of Texas, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez of Washington, Garrett Golden, I've spoken out him, Blue Dog Democrat, out of Maine, Don Davis out of North Carolina, all of them with their own reasons. I want you to hear Rob Finnerty, though, before I get too long on sound here or on my time. He said something very interesting about all of the nutty things going on in the world right now, and Iran in this battle is not one of them. Of the people who are trying to tell you that you should vote for them, that they represent the future of America. This whack job, Tallarico in Texas, the Democrat candidate for Senate, whomever Ken Paxton or John Cornyn is going to go up against, this is no like moderate run-of-the-mill guy. This guy's a whack. Listen to Rob Finner.
But what did surprise me is the new problem that Democrats have in Texas. It is a big one. They're trying to trick Texans into thinking that their candidate is just like them in one of the most conservative states in the country. They chose perhaps the most vanilla, total nincompoop of a candidate that I've ever seen. And Democrats think people are going to vote for this guy because he's white and he parts his hair over to the side and kind of looks normal in a strange way. And then he opens his mouth.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary. Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too. Modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
Yeah, the trans community needs abortion care too. Trans people, meaning men who think they can have babies, which they can't. No man has ever had a baby, meaning they can't have abortions. And apparently he hates that he is white. He's talked a lot about that, tweeting that white skin gives me and every white American immunity from the virus, but we spread it wherever we go through our words and our systems, and we don't have to be showing symptoms like a white hood or a Confederate flag to be contagious. He's a white guy, and he's saying that about being white. Think about that. And then he said this.
But I say all this in terms of, in context of abortion, because before God comes over Mary and we have the incarnation, God asks for Mary's consent, which is remarkable. I mean, go back and read this in Luke. I mean, the angel comes down and asks Mary if this is something she wants to do. And she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be.
Meaning the Democrat nominee for Senate in Texas just used the enunciation of the Virgin Mary to justify abortion. Are you angry yet? And he claims to not only be a Christian, but he's a pastor in training. And Texas Democrats were told to vote for that, and they're going to be told to vote for that in November instead of Jasmine Crockett, who was the black candidate. She was even endorsed by the first black, Southeast Asian, whatever she calls herself, instead of just being an American vice president we've ever had, Kamala Harris, who just hours after Jasmine lost the election endorsed James Talrico, which is not how endorsements work. If you endorse someone and that person loses, you don't endorse the person they lost to the next day. That kind of defeats the purpose of the endorsement, doesn't it? That's Kamala.
This is the crazy land in which we live, ladies and gentlemen. And here you have one man, President Trump, who's managing, keeping an eye on all of the crazy, all of the legal wranglings, all of the deals going on. Well, if you give me John Cornyn, I'll give you the blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, right, let's not forget what's going on. President Trump, according to townhall.com, demands the unconditional surrender from Iran. That's what he said. President Trump demanding nothing short of unconditional surrender from Iran just hours ago, as the United States and Israel have continued to obliterate Iranian forces for nearly a week. In fact, I believe it was yesterday in the Indian Ocean, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth giving a very detailed account of a submarine that sank, an American submarine that sank an Iranian warship that thought it was safe hanging out in international waters. Yeah, we sunk it. Silent death by torpedo. This president is picking off the people who would kill you. And you have 53 Democrats in the House of Representatives voting against a measure that they had prior voted for, claiming without equivocation that Iran is the largest state sponsor of terror on the planet. All to spite President Trump. It's reindeer games if there weren't missiles involved. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, John Kennedy, he's the guy that probably sunk Kristi Noem. I got the details next on the Wendy Bell radio network.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Now let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell radio. I am going to include this video in my daily news wrap-up, so you'll get to see the rest of that. Wendy always has great information. I feel good about sharing this information with you because it's no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. And, you know, that's my stick, okay? Let's jump back here. And, gee, Merry Christmas. It would be nice to get a couple more chats, folks. Just a couple of more chats. I don't know what the hell that's all about. All right, let me try to copy this in here. I don't know why it's acting so weird. There we go. Yeah, copy the live chats if you're new into a comment, because when this live stream is over, those chats just kind of I don't know, disappear into cyberspace someplace. Okay, there we have it. Now it's permanent with the video. I feel the chats are important. People's input, people's thoughts. We've got 28 people watching. Wish I could get a couple of more chats here before I close this out, which is going to happen here just momentarily. Okay, the videos that I've shared with you tonight are videos that come directly from the producers. I've got the links to the videos. I've clicked on them as we've gone through this. It goes directly to the video. Also, the links to the producers channel, if you'd like to go to the producers channel and see what they got going on there. Here we go. Right, here's the videos that I was talking about, the links. I'd like to share all this with you over here on murtech.com. The videos that I've shared with you are videos that I've posted here on murtech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. And as I said, I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do so in this 1 hour plus a few minutes podcast, running like 5 minutes over. But right here in my daily news wrap-up playlist, I do have Wendy Bell, where we're going to take off where we left off. Dan Bongino, got some information from Benny Johnson, the man who defeated Dan Crenshaw. Yes! Break silence after shocking Texas defeat or win. All right, also We the People News, On the Fringe, X22 Report, The Mel K Show, official Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, Black Conservative Perspective. I've got 18 videos in here and about 9 or 10 hours worth of information. So, folks, I've got the news right here for you. You don't have to go searching around or surfing the internet for information that you can rely on. I've got it right here for you. So, in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here with me. But go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee, a donut, sandwich, and a soft drink or a beer. Or grab a nice glass of wine and some cheese and meet me back here, and we'll get that daily news wrap-up going for you. Give me a chance to get my Rumble studio set up. And please, if you could chat with me before I close out, I would greatly appreciate it. Again, I thank you for spending your time with me. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later. And may God bless.